Like I'm in the grocery store or I'm in the swimming change room and I see parents just trying to control their kids and saying, you better put this on now. And or they're forcing them in the car, or there's kids crying in the grocery store because they're like, you sit down. Yeah. Instead of saying, hey, can you help me get a couple things off the shelf? Or making them responsible and making them feel like they're part of your world. Everyone's just in a rush to get somewhere, and everyone's in a rush to just keep moving, that they're forgetting to have conversations with these little kids that are real people that want to be a part of their life.
Hey guys, Ben Oosterveld here with the From Within podcast. You are about to listen to an episode where my wife and I, for the very first time ever, recorded a podcast. My wife is not the one to jump out in front of everyone and tell people who she is. She's quite nervous about it. To be honest, I think she did an absolute brilliant job. We talk about things that we talk about in private. And one day she's like, Ben, you need to talk to people about this. You talk about this to us, and I'd love to see you talk out loud about this somewhere else. And she goes, why don't I interview you right now on a podcast? I said, sure. Are you sure? I said, sir, you want to do this? She goes, yeah, I want to do it. Now, we talk about religion. We talk about belief systems. We talk a lot about raising kids. She's a really special girl. She's got a lot of things to say. I may be biased, but I think this is one of the best episodes we have. Have a listen. Let me know what you think. If you at all feel that anyone could listen to this and gain something from it, have a share or share it. Cheers. Hey guys, Ben here from the From Within podcast. Today is a really special episode. I'm a little bit on the hot seat. I was just sitting there talking to this guest here earlier. Yep. Well, let's just get into it. Renae, my wife, is on the show. She says, after I was going off doing a rant at the dinner table, we're eating breakfast together, and I'd been writing, and I was all inspired. I'm like, you know what, this and this and this. And she's like, Ben, you need to say this stuff. And I'm like, well, I kind of am. I'm kind of not. She's like, no, I need to interview you. So I'm sitting here going, let's do it. We literally just sat down. We went into the studio. We've got our mic out, and I have zero expectation, actually, I'm kind of nervous, to be honest. Renee's not at all, except she just said she was sweating like crazy.
I thought I was going through menopause here for a second.
So she said she wants to go on the show, which is something I thought would be cool. I was a little surprised, to be honest, but I think she might be able to get me. I'm not sure. Anyways, welcome. This is Renae.
Hello. This is stuff I never do.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I really don't want to do, but
so why are you doing it?
Because we have some really good conversations together, and one of them this morning was talking about our son, and from what you heard from him, say what you said.
What did I hear from him?
The conversation you had with him.
I'm just trying to remember now. Sorry, I'm like, what did we talk about again? Give me a reminder.
About him growing up.
Oh yeah,
for the first 5 years of his life.
Well, how to raise him.
Yes.
Yeah, no, you know what? So you want me to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay, first question. What did you say a few minutes ago? We're just talking about raising kids and talking about belief systems. And we see that the kids are being raised just like we were raised, and most of the world is raised to the very young age. You want to teach the kids certain things. So what you do is you tell them, like fire is hot, and then you teach them like ice is slippery. Like, they're really important things we need to teach our kids. But then it gets to the place of you start teaching them their religion. You start teaching them their culture. Like in Asian culture, getting a degree is a dominant thing. So you grow up thinking, well, I have to become a doctor, engineer, or something. And a lot of other cultures, some cultures are saying you need to be married. You stay home until you're married. For more of a Muslim or Eastern cultures, And there's so many things that, like, the question is, though, I was talking to my son, and he said to me, I said, Jack, no. He said something about religion, and I said, well, he goes, Ben, Ben. He said, Dad, I don't think a parent should teach their kids about religion until they're old enough to choose. And I thought, man, is that interesting? I said, would you? Because the way that Renae and I are trying to raise our kids is that they have to choose what they want. Like, imagine just raising a kid saying, this is what you believe. This is the right way, and never, ever go test it. Never go figure out what you want. See, that's kind of the conversation, right, Renae?
Yeah, I think it came down to, even years ago, I knew what I believed, and Ben was kind of following the same path, I would guess you would say. He believed the same kind of stuff I did until a couple of years back when he really wanted to take all of his beliefs and throw them out the door and say, okay, what do I truly believe? and where it to the point freaked me out. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, this is not who I wanted to marry. I wanted someone to be going the same direction I am, living the same kind of way I am. And I think that freaked me out to the core. Like, out of anything else, I could have lived with anything. But for that to be shooken up in my own life, that was too much for me. But staying with Ben and trying to just be with him through this whole thing and trying to figure out, okay, well, this is Ben's journey. It's not necessarily my journey, but and just understanding Ben and what he wants for his life and what he believes, and to the point where he truly believes what he believes because he's went through it all. He's went through the fire. He's went through, just being rejected by everyone that believed in him. And I don't know, the people that kind of stand beside you and say, okay, you're on the same path I am. And then for them to kind of disown him. And I don't know, it's just quite a journey. So to kind of even go through it with our son and say, what do you believe in? What do you think about? What do your friends talk about? What changes you? And because everyone has their own beliefs and everyone's going to try and put that on you. So it's trying to get down to, it's even like teachers telling our kids, well, you know what, you're going to have to get really good grades because if you want to get a really high paying job. But the thing is, if my kids want to do something completely different, maybe they don't have to work so hard in school. Maybe they don't have to just do what the teachers are telling them. Like, why don't you challenge everyone? So it's definitely got us to a point where our kids and Ben are really thinking about, what do we truly believe for ourselves to be real? Now, not what everyone else is teaching us.
Yeah, it's like an unwinding of what we've been told. But the thing is, we would look at raising kids and we're still guilty of it. We're still guilty of saying, no, this is the right way or this is the wrong way. Like, I was thinking about, like Renae was like, well, we still have to teach them. Like for example, like we think about all his friends, okay? All of his friends are influencing him, or we've got lots of kids, like 5 kids or a whole busload. I think we got 5, right? Jesus, it just seems like about 15 of them some days. According to the toys laying around, the clothes that are always around that we're never ever catching up. But the thing is though, it's almost like, do we teach them the right way, or do we teach them how to listen to their heart to make a right decision? Because they're going to have massive influences. They're going to have kids at school, teachers. They're going to have other people that influence them. Like, I remember when I was 15 years old and I ran into a guy named Alan. Alan was at the mall. This guy was way older than 18 years old from a maturity standpoint and from a con artist standpoint. And I remember meeting with him, and I had never been taught to believe in myself. I was never taught that I knew the answer. I was taught all my life that this is the way. But the problem is, the way that was taught to me did not feel right in my heart. So I didn't have the ability to make a choice. I just knew I was going the wrong way. And I had to try to figure out what the emotions were. And I wasn't taught to trust my gut. And how does it make you feel when you're doing this? And stuff that we try to tell our kids is, how does it make you feel? Like, if you're looking at watching a movie that's got lots of killing, we'll say, he's 15 years old. How does that make you feel? Does it strengthen you or does it weaken you? I believe that if we're taught how to make a decision by how you feel at your heart level, I think intrinsically we know what is right and we know what is wrong by what this beautiful intelligence in us talks. Is this communion that you can listen. But I remember meeting Alan, and he taught me how to do fraud. He taught me how to do everything. I went to Vegas on my dad's credit card number through fully fraud. This guy taught me everything. I thought, wow, this guy's amazing. That guy influenced me so much. But if I was taught, does this guy strengthen you or does he weaken you? Like, have some fundamentals given to the kids versus saying this is right, this is wrong. Why don't we trust them to make a good decision and then let them crash and burn? But just, you didn't screw up. It's like, what was it about that? When you saw that or when you did that, how did it make you feel? I just don't know. Maybe this conversation's happening around, but this is stuff that Renae and I talk about.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's just like us teaching our kids. Well, you know what? If you want to try drinking when you're older, then that's fine. If you want to try smoking, but like, these are the consequences, not consequences, but these are the things that you might get addicted. You might, like, it's having the real conversations with our son about porn or, whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's just being open to thinking, okay, what is this going to do for you? Like, is it good to have these kind of people around you? Like, how do they make you feel? And yeah,
like, you question that. 100%. Yeah, it's pretty neat because Jack's 15 now, and man, does he have a relationship with us. He can talk to us for real about anything because we're not going to sit there and go, why'd you do that? We're going to go, how did that make you feel? Like it's, I think a lot of parents have so much fear around about how their kids are going to turn out that I don't think they raise them to trust themselves, because I don't know how many parents trust themselves either. So I think it kind of goes down the line.
Well, and also to have the conversations of, like, every parent is raising their kid. Like, every church out there, no matter what denomination, is out there saying, okay, you need to teach your kids you teach them the way they should go in their beliefs, which is, like, it's really great. But the thing is, are they really going to stand with that without being fearful of choosing something else? Like, because I think that every denomination out there, or whatever you believe in, is always based on fear. It's not based on how you're really living life. There's always, like...
Are you talking about knowing, that thing we were talking about what you believe versus what you know? Is that kind of what you're thinking, or no? Well, okay, so let me share that. This is Renae on a podcast. She's doing amazing, and we got to do the bloopers, Renae.
Okay, we will.
Some later. Of those, we got to showcase some of the stuff. Like, you should have seen. It looks all pretty polished right now, but man, was it funny setting this up. Anyways, this is the crazy thing, guys. If you think about a belief versus knowing, this is really, really fascinating to me, because I've been told what to believe all my life. Now, I've had a lot of trauma and dysfunction, so I'm probably the guy to challenge it. I used to be bitter about it. But the thing is, I just think this. If someone says, I believe 100% I know that I'm right. I believe in a certain thing. Like, for example, I believe in God, or I believe in Jesus. I believe in Muhammad. I believe in, Krishna. I believe in Ra. Like all these different spiritual beliefs, everyone believes them. Like, the thing is, though, what do you know? What do you know? And I believe that if you don't test your beliefs, you will never get to a knowing, because I believe belief is built in doubt. Now, let me explain. If someone came up to me and said, your son is not your son, well, that's a knowing. I know there's no reaction that even happens. It's just that, no, he's my son. You obviously don't know me. But if I had doubt in my mind that Renae had cheated and there's a baby there, and she's like, no, it's your son, came out, it kind of doesn't look like me. But in my head, I didn't want to face truth. I didn't want to face the reality of what the alternative would be if he wasn't my son. And deep down, I had hidden doubt. So I believe he's my son, but I don't know he's my son. Someone comes up to me and says, Ben, I don't think you're your son. I think your wife cheated. That reaction does two things. First, it's an external reaction. The external reaction would simply be a reaction. No, what are you talking about? No. I'll do a DNA test. I'll show you. Like, there's a reaction that happens that's not out of the mind. It's out of your heart. It's out of this instinct to defend and to protect this non-truth. If you're an introvert, you might just change the subject and avoid it. You might run from it. But the reality is, there is a reaction when someone challenges your belief that has not been tested. Because what happens is, it's so filled with doubt. It reminds me of the Forged in Fire show, where the guys create the sword or they create the knife, and it looks like an amazing knife. But if it got tested, it would break. Every single time the knife would break in half, until they tested it with fire. They heat it up to the point where it's almost melting. They put it in oil, and the entire chemistry changes, and it becomes a hardened steel. I believe that belief is filled with doubt until it becomes a knowing. And the knowing is after it's been tested. So this is what I think, is that we're teaching our kids beliefs, but we're also teaching them doubt, because they don't know for sure what they believe. Hey, Renae is being challenged by me so much, because I'm willing to do whatever to learn who I am, what I'm about. Because of the stuff I've gone through in my life, I'm willing to put anything on the fire. And the moment I did that, I found out about 80% of what I believed wasn't 100% true, but then I found the 20% I could stand on. So that's been my mission. So that shaped the way I'm raising kids. And man, Renae gets really scared. Like, why don't you talk about that? Like, this isn't like, oh yeah, me and Renae doing a podcast. Like, you guys, I can't believe she's sitting here, because I challenge Renae, not by challenging directly, by me living my life. Two things happen. People really lean into me, or they really run from me. But I think that's because they have not really tested their own belief, and I'm saying, hey, go look, it might not be your belief. Like, no, it is my belief. I don't like this guy, or I have a reaction. Or there's people that says, thank you, I have permission to actually find myself. So Renae, what do you feel like with all that?
Well, now that your phone is off the table and it stopped beeping so much, I can probably concentrate.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Okay, so what do you believe, Ben?
What do I believe?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Okay, so my first reaction is I don't know. Mostly what I don't know. And there's a piece about not knowing, because that's the most truthful place I can be. What I believe is different. So what do I know, or what do I believe now that I've laid that out? So there's a lot of beliefs, right? I believe I'm going to be successful. I believe that, there's lots of stuff coming. What do I know? I don't know what I know. I know that my wife and kids are one of the biggest priorities I have in my entire life. I know I will impact people for the rest of my life. I know I'm willing to stand alone for the rest of my life upon what I know and my convictions and who I am. I'm very strong that way. I know. Do I know that there's an essence in me, some kind of source, God, whatever you call it? I know that. There's stuff that flows through me. There's things that I know. But at the end of the day, maybe it is a belief. I don't know, because at the end of the day, they got brain science that we don't even know. Like, remember the days where way back in the days, I'm thinking 200 years ago, they'd see a comet fall from the sky and they say it's God throwing something down to earth. Like, that's a belief. Do they know? I don't know. So I think what do I believe? Like, maybe ask a specific question. So that's a real top level, and maybe you're trying to get at me here. Let's see what you got. Bring it.
Okay.
See, that's overconfidence because I'm nervous. That's the truth. There's my truth.
Okay, well, I guess I question what you believe sometimes. Not in, like, just wondering, because you definitely go all out there and just interview a whole bunch of different beliefs yourself.
Yeah.
So from, I guess, doing that, from you having experiences of God yourself, where you heard God audibly saying, get out of Calgary or you're going to be destroyed.
Yeah. And then I met you the next day, which is cool.
Yeah. So to have you experience God in a real way.
Remember
like
the
that.
camp where all the kids fell over and they were just all screaming and crying. They saw God and all that. Yeah.
Where they're saying that they're seeing God, and they're talking about all these.
The entire camp. I was speaking at a camp. The entire, like, I just stood on this log, and then around the campfire, I started kind of preaching or sharing, very much in the Christian world. But I really always believed in the power of God versus just the teachings of God. And it was something that flowed through me in the entire camp. It was almost like a cloud rested on the entire place. Like, this presence was there to the point where everyone literally went on their knees and they started crying and they started seeing
visions. And
it was like this. It was like unbelievable. We actually have it somewhere on an old VHS tape, an old recording of it. I'll have to bring that up sometime. But yeah, so that's what you're saying is I've seen God.
So then from you even talking to an astrology guy, and then having your own experiences there, where, I don't know, he's kind of helped you and directed you in different ways. Mm-hmm. Like, you've kind of been all over the map in talking to all sorts of people, and I guess that's where I'm just like, okay, what do you believe in, or what do you take away from all these different people and all these different religions? And
okay, so I'll tell you a story. If you think about this, there's a story about a lady, and this is an analogy for all this. There's called sensing type personality types, where they're very specific. This is an analogy I'm going to use. This is how I see where I'm at, because I see in pictures and circles and weird things like that. There's a lady that's so terrified to go to her backyard. So scared because she knows there's a big snake back there. There's a gigantic snake and it's going to kill her or hurt her. So you don't ever go look at the thing that scares you because it's dangerous. And like I was told all my life, don't go look at anything outside of Christianity because the devil is a crouching tiger. He'll destroy you. The greatest deception will be at the end days. Non-stop, fear-based control where I would never go look at anything. And because you might slip and fall, don't have a sip of alcohol, you're going to be an alcoholic. Don't look at a girl's magazine because you're going to slip into pornography. The extremity of how I was raised, I know that's not everyone, and I know that's not even a good representation of Christianity. But I got a thumbs up from Renae. She's sitting there going, that's right.
Well, it's true.
Because that's not how I live.
It's true, because even way back when, it was like having drums in the church. That was so wrong. It's like, if you're dancing in the church, that's wrong.
Back in the day.
Everyone's dancing in church and waving flags.
Yeah, worshiping God beautifully.
And doing different stuff where they've started painting. Like there's so much stuff that they're opening up to where everything used to be wrong.
That's right.
It's
So,
like,
for
okay,
sure.
yoga's wrong. Don't be doing that. We're really trying to figure out, what do we believe is right? What are
we or me? Because that sounds interesting that you say that, to be honest.
I've gone on my own
That's
journey.
really interesting, Renee. Because I'm sitting here on my journey. You're like, we? I'm like, really? You're examining your faith? You're examining your beliefs?
The thing is, I think I've gone through my own journey the last couple of years thinking, because I went through the fire with you, where I'm like, I can't do this.
Totally.
So 100%. I've had to think about what I believe, because I know that I do believe in God. I know that he hears me, because it's been proven very many times where I've not told one person about what I've been talking to God about, and all of a sudden
miracles happen.
Are happening. So there is, like, it's like
very, very real
there's something
you,
that I cannot be shaken in when it comes to my own beliefs. But then there's the part of my beliefs where I'm just like, okay, if God and Jesus and everything is real, why is everyone not living the way they should be living? Like living in health, living in
prosperity.
Living in a life that should be so good, is like
peace that passes all understanding. That, like, all the promises that are in there saying, if you follow this, here's what you get. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like why is
everyone struggling?
Why is my dad still having cancer and we've prayed so many times? Like, what's the journey behind that? Or what is there something that's holding us back because we're not getting that? So is this you kind of challenging your beliefs a little bit? Well, I guess I do in my own way. Like, I definitely know what I believe, but then there is questions about what we are taught and what we're told. Where is that really true?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll finish the story.
Yeah.
Is that the lady's in the backyard. And so she has the snake in the backyard. She's scared of what she's not supposed to go look back there because she knew a little glimpse of it. And they said, what is that? Oh, don't look, because it will attack you. It'll hurt you. It's a snake in the backyard. One day she goes, I'm so sick and tired of living this fear-based life that I need to face it. I need to get to know my fear. I need to go to the areas that I was told that I was going to get hurt. I have to know, because my belief is so filled with doubt. I have to know what I believe. I need to know. So she goes back there. She gets a rake. And she's like, that's okay. I'll smash this thing. Goes totally fearful, but she keeps going toward her fear. She goes back to the back corner and it's coiled up. It is fully coiled up, ready to strike. Now she could turn around. She got close, but she didn't. She kept going forward. She looks, and it's a flippin' watering hose. It was nothing to be scared of. Now she can explore the garden. Now she goes, I can look everywhere. And now that describes my experience with my own beliefs, my own faith, that I was told all my life to be scared of the devil, scared of everything else out there. Don't do that. It was all so, okay. First of all, I love morality. We never had sex before we're married. I still believe in that. I believe in making that special. I believe in an energy of morals. I don't party. I don't believe in drinking, because it does sneak up onto you. When you're 20 years drinking, you're going to be potentially a drunk. I believe these things. So some of the most moral, amazing things, kindness, humility, these are the fundamentals of faith-based Christianity, Muslims. All this is coming from the same beautiful love place. But the other part of it is what I'm talking about. So I've gotten a lot from going through religion. But now the thing is, I was always scared of everything around me. Like, I wanted to go to a Buddhist temple and see what they do. But if I ran a church, I'd say we're all going to the Buddhist temple today, because we need to know what we believe is true. That would obviously be very, very controversial. But I am saying, though, the snake, this is how I live. I am not scared anymore. I am not scared to go look. It has absolutely been lied to, that you will not be hurt. You will not be bit. And you know what? It is not scary. I sat down and talked to an elderly couple. I won't tell you who they are because it's tied to our inner circle. But they said, "Oh, why would you interview someone that's an energy healer? Like, it just seems so new age." I looked at them and said, I am not scared. Because what I was told as a Christian, that we'd have peace that passes all understanding, you'd have all these promises, that didn't come to pass until I started to believe in myself and know what I believe. The same thing is true as all the other stuff they said was saying all these things are going to hurt you. That wasn't true. In my mind, I know I am not in danger. Living your life that you are always scared to have something bad happen, this is a huge problem. This is a huge problem. So my belief, as you can see, I'm pretty passionate about it, is that I'm not scared to look now. That's the biggest change I've ever had. And I asked myself, what if Jesus wasn't real and I lived my entire life like that? Not that he isn't, and not even debating the faith, but I need to know that if Jesus is real to me, I need to know. So I put it on the fire, burn it. If it doesn't stick around, it was never mine. So this is what I am. I'm on a quest for truth. I'm on quest for truth because, and yes, this is my story. This is not your story. This is no one else's story. This is independently Ben Oosterveld on his journey. If you get inspired, great. If you hate it, don't care. But this is my story, and my story comes with abuse, comes with living on streets, comes with being rejected. So my story is creating my next phase in my life, a lot of it, but I'm very self-aware that that is my journey. I believe it's also perfect. I believe it's directly in line to where I need to be in my life, and I am here for a certain amount of people on this planet to be inspired and to be changed and to believe in themselves. And maybe I can be the catalyst for someone that'll do something cool or just have a better marriage or someone connect with their son better. I will live my life the rest of my life like that because I went and looked. And that's what I want to encourage people to do, is take a look, throw their faith, throw all their beliefs on the fire and just say, hey, is this mine? By the way, what I'm saying is going to scare the living shit out of the people that aren't believing what they say they're believing. Most people that believe their faith don't believe it. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Got a little excited there.
I think it's great. I think it's great because you're either going to live in fear all your life and not doing what you truly believe is true. Like you're going to live in fear, believing things that, I'm just going to do this because that's what the Bible says, or I'm going to do this because this is what someone told me to do. And you're not going to ever challenge yourself or keep moving ahead. But if you really get rid of everything you believe and start at the beginning and finding that connection to who you are and who God is to you, then I think then you will have something that's real and you won't be fearful and you'll live truly who you are.
And you know what's interesting, and I don't think I share this too much, but I say this behind the scenes to Renae. I say, I'm here to introduce people to God by introducing them to themselves, which is totally sacrilegious to where we come from. But if you look within enough, you will see an essence. God is such a man-made word. Someone invented G-O-D. The words G-O-D was invented. So whatever we want to call it, universe, the source, you will find that. And that is the most coolest thing. If I can help you get out of your own way, you will find an essence in you that is so beautiful, so loving, so powerful, so fulfilling. You want peace that passes understanding? That's where it's at. It's already in you. It is not outside of you. And that is what I'm here on the planet for, to introduce people to God through introducing them to themselves. And I've never said that before in my life. You got tears?
No.
Looks like you're
I'm
crying.
still sick.
I'm like, that's moving. She's so moved. No, just sick. That pretty much is our relationship. It's like, oh, wow, she's crying. Jeez, was that moving? It was moving for me too, Renae. But honestly, that isn't the easiest thing for me to say. But you know me, I put myself out there because I don't want to hide. I want to be me and let the chips fall to me. May someone needs to hear it.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, are you done? You got to pee or something?
No.
Oh, you're just done now? I should interview you. Let me think here. I'm not done with you yet. Now I got you on a podcast.
Good.
We're only 26 minutes in. People will listen to at least 40. Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Why are you on this podcast? Why did you want to go on do this?
Well, a lot of times when we sit together to eat breakfast or all of a sudden we just get in the car together, it's not just like, oh, how are you doing?
How's the weather?
Let's just talk about the kids or let's just talk about business again. We start something that's very normal and then all of a sudden it goes into very deep talking all the time. Or it's like, Ben's like, I just heard a sermon today and just goes on this rant of how it's just like, why are they trying to control people? And it's just, I don't know. It's like talking about our son and talking about the conversations we just had with him downstairs in his room. And it's just like deep conversations all the time. So when you're in the moment, you're just like, oh, we should have recorded that. It was so good.
You always say that. You're like,
yes.
Ben, you got to record that. I'm just like, nope, just my thoughts.
It's in those times of deep passion, which is so often. But so I'm like, oh, let's try and do this and get together. But which is not as easy as just having a normal conversation and just going off. We can just sit there for 40 minutes and our kids are like, Mom, I need you. And we're like, yeah, it just gets into these big topics.
What's really cool, Renae, is when we sat down with Jack and we had these conversations.
Yeah.
And Jack and Scarlett. And we started talking about life at a deep level. and it turns into like a little family meeting with the older kids. I can't say there's anything more fulfilling, to be honest, to hear them and letting them believe what they believe and figuring out their path. And so let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
First of all, Renae, you have taught me probably 95% of what I know with kids. I was a nightmare when I began. I came from a place where that was not, there was zero teaching. It was like I was started with a -50 on being a parent, but my heart was really big and I really wanted to be the guy. And I've always been a good guy in a broken vessel in a way, trying to figure myself out. But you have taught me so much about kids. Like man, some days I'm like, if the world only knew what you have done for me as a dad. Like, you have taught me, like, I would have been like, I remember one time the kid, well, I don't know which kid it was. I don't know, Jewel, I think, or Scarlett. And she was kind of a fiery one. Our kids are a little fiery like us. But the thing is, she didn't want to wear her shoe. In my mind, I interpreted it. She didn't want to wear her shoe. And I said, no, you're wearing your shoe like a good parent. Like, by the way, I see that all the time as a previous real estate agent and working with coaching clients. I see the parents talk to their kids that way. No, just leave it on. Renae has always been, the beginning was super annoying to me because I'm like, oh my goodness, they're playing her. But she'd get on her knees and they say, is your foot hurting? And I'd be like, no, they're not hurting. They don't want to wear shoes. They just don't want to wear, let's get going. And the mission was more to get into the car. Renae would stop, hold up the whole family, sit down, and she'd take the shoe off. And it was really, really rashing on one side of her. It was really pinched. And I would have gone all day with my kid's foot pinched. And I probably would have been mad because they're crying in the car. I think they're upset. This is an example of what Renae taught me.
Well, it's just been like...
Oh, no. That laughter.
I'm just saying, okay.
I got a lot of bad stories that I've done, probably.
Just before we were getting married and we do the marriage counseling, and they said, oh my goodness, your communication's really good. You're like...
10 out of 10, yeah.
Yeah, you're like 10 out of 10, except for this one area, and it's going to be raising kids. And we're like say...
1 out of 10. We're like, we can beat that, no problem. Like,
we would say anyway. That has been quite...
That's a challenge, holy crap.
Challenge, because... Ben not knowing anything about kids, or
coming from a pretty aggressive childhood,
from living on the streets when he was 12, to me having a really good upbringing, but then a lot of like, Renae, you can't do this. You're not smart enough, Renae. You might not be able to do this, and that
was your upbringing, yeah.
Yeah, where they were trying to protect me all the time. Where all of a sudden Ben and I both knew that we wanted to make our kids fly. And just
totally
really push them to not be fearful. Because I grew up very like, just me and my personality, just being scared. Scared to call my cousins, asked for a play date. Scared to, I didn't even talk till it was grade 10 in school, where the teacher would ask me a question and I would just say, I would say in my mind, I'm just going to sit here until he passes because I'm not going to say anything. I was so fearful. So to raise our kids and for Ben to be like, so like, you need to do this and you need to listen to me. And I'm like, no, Ben, that's not how you do it. It's what's going on. To have the conversations with them when they're 2 years old, or as soon as they can start talking and say, what's going on? How can I help you? To just being there for them.
It's hard to describe, but what happens is, let's say a kid bangs their knee. Okay, I was taught, hey, toughen up, you'll be okay. Or change the subject. Like, oh, what's this over there? What I was missing was identifying that they were under pain. And the empathy side of it was more about like getting them through it versus sitting down and Renae would go, man, that must really hurt. And it was exactly what I wish I had as a kid. Oh my goodness, not like get over it. I was doing the exact same pattern as I was taught until I saw this. She'd get down and be like, man, it must really hurt. I'm thinking that was nothing. Like, come on, there's no blood. Like really, it was not bad. They bunked her. That was like barely, oh my goodness, so overreactive. But Renae would sit down and be like, man, it must really hurt. And then I saw them hug each other. And then all of a sudden she goes off and plays. And I was like, wow, like this is what's, Renae, even yesterday, you don't know this, but yesterday night, even still, like my son Rock is a fiery one too. And man, he's independent, strong-willed. And I don't know where he gets it from. Probably me. And he's like my little mini-me. I'm being sarcastic, of course it's for me. But he's independent. He does what he wants. He's an amazing kid. But when he gets around his brothers and sisters, he plays aggressively. He thinks it's funny to tease. All the stuff that I kind of like too. And but he wasn't listening. he was chucking frozen blueberries at his sister, and all he hears, ow, ow. And I'm like, what's going on? And he's whipping blueberries, and then he takes the thing out of the fridge and kind of chucks it at her. He thinks it's hilarious, and it's kind of funny, chucking blueberries at each other. Real funny. I like it, but not right now. It's bedtime. So I said this, please pick up the blueberries. That is not happening. So I come across more aggressive, like, hey, what are you doing? Get the blueberries, get boom, 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 boom. Okay. So now he's pissed at me. As soon as I come aggressive, he's like, you know what, whatever. I said, okay, you're not getting Fortnite. You're not going to play tomorrow. So I start threatening him instantly. If you don't pick up those blueberries that you just threw all over the ground, you're losing Fortnite. He goes, I don't care anyways, Dad. Don't care about Fortnite anyways. I'm like, you little bugger. Now it's game on. Okay, fine. So anyways, we're battling. This was yesterday. And I'm like, and then what happens? You forget so quickly that this is not fire on fire creates more fire. Anyways, he picked up the blueberries because I forced him to. It wasn't inspirational, nothing. Now he's pissed. He goes to his room and he doesn't pick up a couple of the blueberries just because he's like, screw you, Dad. I'm out. You know what? I don't care about Fortnite anyways. He goes to bed and he's pissed off. I'm thinking, boy, that didn't go very well. It's still like such an, like, I got 5 kids, guys. Like I don't hold myself, like I didn't do bad. Like it was just being parent and it wasn't mean but it was just being like super stern to make sure he listens, and he's got to listen. Now he's not talking to me. Now he's pissed off at me. So I'm like, whatever, I'm the parent. Like I could do that. But I went to Renae, Renae, I'm really upset. Can you please go talk to him and make him do something for me? So Renae goes in and I start putting my other daughter to bed, rubbing her back and hanging out. And I just listen. And there's Renae. I couldn't quite make it out. But what I did was Rock was in his room, totally upset. Renae goes in there. And within like 20 minutes, he absolutely feels heard. He feels supported. He's got a great attitude again. And I'm like, Renae, so what did you do last night?
I don't know. It's just going in there and saying, hey, I don't know what happened. And then talking it through with him, seeing what happened and seeing why he got so hurt, why has this aggression towards you. And I don't know. It was just understanding what happened to him to get him so mad that he doesn't want to listen to you.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you do have to respect your dad. But like he said, he has to himself have open conversations and say why he feels hurt and why he doesn't feel heard by you. But it's
funny because I feel like I do that. Like I'll go to his room. Okay, what happened? Tell me what happened. Okay. Like it's the way you do it, they feel heard. How do you tell someone? And this is something I get an amazing example at home to see all the time. And sometimes I nail it. Other times I don't. I'm good with either way. Like I don't judge myself. I know that it's all process. But how do you tell someone how to hear their kids, Renae? Like I don't know if you can because I watch it.
I don't know. I just know how to do it. I don't know how to tell. But it would just be being very open with your kids and really taking the time. Like, man, if it takes another 5 minutes out of your day, it does. And you're going to have to leave everything else, sitting there waiting for you, and just take those couple minutes and just be like, what's going on with you? What are you feeling? And letting them know that you have their back and that you're understanding how they feel. To move past that and just say, it's okay. Like, just to hear them, because so many times, like I'm in the grocery store or I'm in the swimming change room and I see parents just trying to control their kids and saying, you better put this on now, and they're forcing them in the car, or there's kids crying in the grocery store because they're like, you sit down. Yeah. Instead of saying, hey, can you help me get a couple things off the shelf? Or making them responsible and making them feel like they're part of your world. Everyone's just in a rush to get somewhere, and everyone's in a rush to just keep moving, that they're forgetting to have conversations with these little kids that are real people that want to be a part of their life.
I love your line, part of their world. Man, it brings me back to my childhood where I wish I was part of their world. It was always the kids' table. It was always go be quiet, go do your thing. And then once in a while you go fishing and it's amazing, but it doesn't quite do it because I don't think I was heard.
Yeah.
It was always under their own agenda, I guess. Anyways, Renae, we'll get close to wrapping this up here. Now, let me ask you something. Every time I have a podcast, I always give the guest, which is you, which is really funny, a chance to ask me a direct question. Now, if you don't have a question, that's fine. But if you were to ask me one question, what would it be? And if you don't have a question, I'll got one for you. And you can do that.
Now I really want a question, so you don't have to give me one.
Yeah.
No, I don't have one. I actually don't.
Okay.
Probably because I'm put on the spot here. I like it.
You know what? I don't even have a question for this toy lying to you. Anyways, I just want to, you know what? I have no clue how this is going to be taken. I really don't. I think our kids are going crazy upstairs, so we have to wrap this up pretty quick.
I just heard them.
We're good?
They were fine until this moment.
We have this little room we turned into a studio here, but there could be a lot of, it's like, we're 38 minutes in, and we haven't had anything happen. This is amazing. Guys, I'd like to hear back from you. I want to hear... I don't care really as much on the responses. This one I want to hear. This is the first time my wife has ever shown herself.
But this was just for the fun of it. We're not
really recording. I promise, with my fingers crossed and everything else I have crossed, that I would never post this. But truly, like when I do post this, I just really want to hear feedback. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. I'd like to see if you want more of this, if you want to have more conversation here, include more conversations with Renae, maybe hear a little bit more about parenting, breaking up belief systems on my side or whatever. Or if it's like, I never want to hear this again, I want to hear that too. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. And I think somewhere along the lines, we are going to have the bloopers. The beginning that we didn't record was freaking hilarious. Renae's like just losing her mind. So anyways... Okay, thanks so much, Renae, for being here. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Girl.
Bye.
Love you.
Bloopers.
We have to record this. Oh my goodness, you're so funny.
Oh my goodness. Okay, go.
We're trying to start this show here, and it's just constant comedy. And the stuff that we're not recording is like, I wish it's recorded. Renae would shoot me if you heard some of this stuff. Like, I'm sweating. Oh my goodness. Okay, take two. Okay, what are we gonna talk about?
Okay, well, you got a lot to say about
Take a drink. It's really bad.
Oh, that's why I brought a drink. Just rewind it.
You can?
Yeah, you gotta rewind it.
Oh my god. A little nervous, eh? Okay, so so anyways, this is so we're gonna figure out what we're gonna talk about. So for real, Renae, just talk.
Okay.
It's just recorded. Why is
Just
this?
go ahead, you talk, and then we can make
No one's listening, Renae.
I
can delete this right now.
Okay, good. Just delete it. Let's start over.
This is so okay.
Just start over.
Okay.